Have you ever felt alone, not just physically, but emotionally, like no one truly understands what you're carrying? You might be surrounded by people, yet there's this quiet emptiness inside. A kind of silence that feels heavy. We live in a world that's constantly telling us to stay busy. To keep talking. Keep scrolling. Keep doing. But what if, in trying to escape being alone, we're actually running away from the most important relationship of all? The one we have with ourselves. Today, I want to share a story. Not just any story, a Buddhist perspective on solitude that has helped many people find healing in the one place they feared most, silence. You see, there's a big difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness can feel cold, like you've been left behind. But solitude, true solitude, can feel like coming home. In Buddhism, solitude isn't a punishment. It's a path. A sacred space where we no longer have to wear masks, impress anyone, or keep up with the noise of the world. In that stillness, we reconnect with something honest, something we've buried under layers of distractions and fears. So if you're watching this and you've been feeling lost, tired, or quietly hurting inside, this video is for you. Let this be your moment to pause. To breathe. To be alone, but not lonely. To finally hear the voice that's been waiting for you all along, your own. And if at any point this message resonates with your heart, please give the video a like. Share it with someone who may need it. And subscribe to Life Lessons for more stories that heal and inspire. You're not alone in being alone. Let's walk this gentle path together. Part 1: Loneliness versus solitude, two very different worlds. Have you ever felt a quiet kind of pain, one that doesn't come from heartbreak or failure, but from simply not feeling seen? It's a strange ache, isn't it? You go through your day. You do what's expected. You smile, you nod, you answer questions. And yet, when the noise fades and the day ends, there's a soft, echoing silence inside you. It's not always loud, but it's always there. This is what many people call loneliness. But the truth is, not all loneliness looks like sadness. Sometimes it looks like achievement. Like busyness. Like a schedule packed with things that don't really feed your soul. And that's where this story begins. The mistake we all make. Most of us are taught that being alone means something is wrong. We grow up surrounded by messaging that says, if you're alone, you must be unwanted. If you're not surrounded by people, you're failing at life. And so we start to fear silence. We run from stillness. We try to fill every moment, with sound, with people, with distractions. But there's a quiet truth the Buddha taught that shifts everything. Loneliness is the suffering of separation. Solitude is the joy of returning to yourself. Let that sink in. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. One empties you. The other fills you. Solitude is not a punishment. When Gautama Buddha left the palace in search of truth, he didn't bring a crowd. He didn't fill his journey with company. He walked into the forest. Alone. Why? Because some kinds of healing can only happen in solitude. Not because other people can't help, but because you can't hear your own soul when everyone else is talking. Solitude is not a punishment. It's a pause. A sacred space where your mind can unclench, your emotions can surface, and your heart can breathe again. Loneliness hurts. But it's also a message. Here's something we don't talk about enough. Loneliness isn't weakness. It's not a flaw. It's actually a signal, a gentle whisper that your inner self is asking for your attention. When you feel lonely, your soul might be saying, I miss you. I need you to listen. Please, sit with me for a while. But instead of listening, we run. We scroll through our phones. We binge another show. We distract ourselves with tasks, achievements, relationships, anything to avoid being with ourselves. And yet, no matter how far we run, that voice is still there. Waiting. Hoping. Still whispering, come home. A gentle reframe. What if, just for today, we stopped judging the silence? What if, instead of asking, why am I alone, we asked, what is this solitude trying to teach me? Maybe it's not there to hurt you. Maybe it's there to free you. Because when you stop resisting your own company, you begin to discover a strange and beautiful truth. You are not empty. You are vast. And in the stillness, you are full of stories, emotions, wisdom, and light, all waiting to be heard. The first step to peace. Peace doesn't come from adding more to your life. It comes from subtracting the noise. And the first step toward inner peace is this: stop running from yourself. Sit down. Close your eyes. Breathe. Let the discomfort rise. Let the thoughts come. Let the old fears speak. And then, like a patient friend, simply listen. You might be surprised at what you hear. Not chaos. Not madness. But a soft, tired version of you, finally ready to rest. You deserve your own presence. You are not a burden to yourself. You are not too much. You are not too broken to sit in silence. You deserve your own attention. Your own kindness. Your own companionship. And maybe, just maybe, what you've been searching for in others all this time, was actually waiting inside you. So let this be your moment to come back. Not to a place. Not to a person. But to you. To the stillness you've been avoiding. To the healing you've been needing. To the truth that was always there. You were never truly alone. You were just waiting to meet yourself again. Part 2: A Story of Silence and Awakening. Let me tell you a story. A man once came to the Buddha, desperate and defeated. He said, Lord, I've lost everything, my job, my wife, my friends. I am alone, and I cannot bear it. Please, help me escape this loneliness. The Buddha looked at him with soft eyes and said, You are not alone. You are simply without distractions. The man didn't understand. He had spent his whole life filling every hour with noise, laughter, ambition, company, chaos. Being alone, to him, meant being empty. But the Buddha saw something deeper. The man wasn't afraid of solitude. He was afraid of meeting himself. When everything falls away. Sometimes, life strips us bare, not to punish us, but to help us begin again. That's what happened to this man. With everything gone, he had no choice but to sit in the silence. No music. No scrolling. No one checking in. Just him. And at first, it hurt. All the fears he had buried for years came flooding back. Voices from the past. Regrets. Insecurities. Grief. It felt like drowning. But then, something shifted. As he sat with the pain, without running, something softened. The noise began to fade. The panic settled. His breath returned. And for the first time, he noticed a space inside him that he never knew was there. A space untouched by fear, untouched by loss. a stillness, a knowing, a presence. That was the beginning of peace. The wisdom hidden in solitude. Buddhist teachings say that when the mind stops grasping, the heart begins to open. What this man discovered, and what we so often forget, is that solitude doesn't take something from us. It returns something we've lost. Our ability to feel. Our capacity to listen. Our connection to the present. And most importantly, our relationship with ourselves. In solitude, you begin to realize you are not your job. You are not your role in someone else's story. You are not the likes, the messages, the applause. You are something far more sacred. And when the world goes quiet, that sacred self begins to speak. Facing the real you. This is what solitude asks of us. To sit down without performance. To be still without agenda. To stop trying to be someone, and just be. It sounds simple, but for many people, it's terrifying. Why? Because when you remove the distractions, what's left is you, unfiltered, unmasked, and raw. All the insecurities. The self-doubt. The things you try to hide. But here's the miracle. Once you face those parts of yourself, they lose their power. Once you say to your fear, I see you, it softens. Once you say to your sadness, you're allowed here, it begins to melt. And once you say to your loneliness, I will not abandon you anymore, you begin to heal. Learning to be alone, not lonely. The man in the story didn't become a monk. He didn't retreat from the world forever. He simply started spending a few minutes each day with himself. Just sitting. Just breathing. Just listening. And what happened? He became more patient. More grounded. More present in his relationships. Because he no longer needed the world to fill his emptiness, he had already met his own fullness. That is the power of being alone, not to escape others, but to rediscover yourself. And from that place of self-connection, all your outer connections grow stronger. You don't have to be afraid anymore. So many people are afraid of solitude, not because it's painful, but because it's honest. It shows you where you're hurting, where you're longing, where you've been ignoring your own soul. But what if, instead of running, you stayed? What if, like the man in the story, you let the silence wash over you? Until what was once uncomfortable becomes comforting. What if the very thing you fear is the very thing that can save you? This is your invitation. So if you're watching this right now and you've been afraid of the silence, if you've been filling every minute to avoid being alone, let this be your invitation, not to change everything overnight, but to try something gentle. Just 5 minutes. No phone. No noise. No pressure. Just you. Sitting. Breathing. Returning. You don't need to fix yourself. You just need to meet yourself. And when you do, you'll find what the Buddha meant when he said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Part 3: Befriending the Mind, the Gentle Path to Peace. There's something most of us were never taught. You don't have to fight with your mind to find peace. Yes, your thoughts can be loud. Yes, your mind can feel scattered and wild, like a monkey jumping from branch to branch. But the answer isn't to chain the monkey. It's to understand why it's restless in the first place. Your mind is not your enemy. So many people spend their lives trying to fix their minds. They judge every thought that arises. Why am I still thinking about this? Why can't I stop overanalyzing everything? Why is my brain so negative? And slowly, that judgment turns inward. We begin to believe there's something wrong with us. That we're broken. Defective. That peace is only for those who are calmer, wiser, better. But let me tell you something the Buddha taught. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Your mind isn't broken. It's just overwhelmed. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to make sense of your pain, your memories, your fears. It doesn't need punishment. It needs your compassion. What happens when you stop fighting? Imagine this. A child is crying. They're scared, confused, and emotional. Now imagine someone walks up and yells at them to be quiet. What happens? The child cries louder. Now imagine someone kneels down, places a hand on their shoulder, and says, "I hear you. I'm here. You're safe." That child begins to soften. To breathe. To feel seen. Your mind is no different. When you fight it, it fights back. But when you sit beside it with kindness, when you say, "I hear you," it begins to calm. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. The practice of sitting with yourself. In Buddhist practice, meditation isn't about controlling the mind. It's about observing it, with awareness and love. It's sitting in stillness. Watching thoughts arise and fall like waves. And remembering, you are not the waves. You are the ocean. You don't have to believe every thought. You don't have to chase every story your mind tells. You just have to sit. And breathe. And watch, like a mountain watches the clouds pass by. The thoughts will come. Let them. And when they go, let them go too. Healing begins in gentle awareness. This may sound simple, but it's life-changing. When you stop trying to change your thoughts, and instead meet them with curiosity, something shifts. The fear becomes softer. The tension loosens. The shame begins to dissolve. You might notice a thought like, "I'm not good enough." Instead of reacting or running, you ask gently, "Where did this come from?" You sit with it, and maybe you remember a voice from your childhood, a moment that hurt you. And instead of pushing it away, you hold it. You offer it love. You forgive it. That is the work. That is healing. Self-kindness is the real liberation. People talk about freedom in many ways: success, status, escape. But the deepest freedom is this. The freedom to sit with yourself and feel safe. Not because the world is quiet. Not because your mind is silent. But because you've stopped treating yourself like the enemy. You've become your own ally. That changes everything. You walk through life no longer begging others for approval. Because you've already approved of yourself. You don't need to be perfect. Because you've made peace with being human. An invitation to try. So here's something gentle you can do, starting today. Next time your mind feels noisy, don't rush to escape it. Don't label it as bad. Just pause. Put your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath. And say to yourself, "I see you. I know you're trying. I'm here." It might feel strange at first. But over time, this kindness becomes your new habit. And your mind, once loud and lost, will learn to rest in your presence. That is the power of loving awareness. That is the heart of Buddhist practice. And that is the beginning of real peace. Part 4: Letting Go, the peace hidden in impermanence. There's a moment in every spiritual journey where we stop trying to fix and start learning to let go. Letting go is not giving up. It's not weakness. It's not saying, "I don't care anymore." It's saying, "I trust what is. I trust what will be. And I release the need to control what I never truly held." Everything changes. Everything. The Buddha once said, "Nothing is forever. Everything is subject to change. Holding on is the root of suffering." And yet, we all hold on. We hold on to people, to plans, to expectations, to who we thought we would be, to relationships that have expired, dreams that have faded, identities we've outgrown. Why? Because the mind craves certainty. And letting go feels like falling. It feels like death. But here's the truth. Everything in life is impermanent. The seasons, the weather, the breath, the body. Everything that begins will one day end. It sounds sad at first, until you realize. In that ending is freedom. What you release, releases you. There's an old Buddhist parable of a man who clings to a vine while hanging off the edge of a cliff. Below him, a river. Above him, nothing to hold on to. He's exhausted. Panicked. But when he finally lets go, he doesn't fall. He floats. The water carries him. Gently. This is the paradox of surrender. You think you'll break when you let go, but you actually rise. What you release, releases you. What you stop gripping no longer grips you. That heartbreak you keep replaying in your mind. That guilt you refuse to forgive. That version of you from the past. Maybe, just maybe, it's time to let them rest. Surrender is not a one-time act. Letting go isn't something you do once. It's a daily, quiet, humble practice. It's waking up and saying, "Today, I don't need to control how others see me. Today, I release the pressure to be perfect. Today, I welcome change, even if I'm scared." You might let go in the morning. And pick it all up again by lunch. That's okay. The point isn't to get it right. The point is to notice when you're holding on, and to soften, again and again. That's the spiritual path. Not a straight road, but a spiral. Not perfection, but presence. The mind wants to control. The soul wants to trust. Your mind will fight this. It will tell you, if you stop controlling, everything will fall apart. If you let go, people will forget you. If you surrender, you'll lose yourself. But your soul, your deeper knowing, whispers something else. You don't need to force. Life flows on its own. When you stop clutching, life has room to surprise you. To meet you where you are. To bring beauty you didn't ask for, in ways you never expected. Have you ever noticed? The most magical moments come not when you're striving, but when you're still. Letting go makes room for what matters. When your hands are full of what no longer serves you, you have no space for what's meant to come. That's why surrender is sacred. It's not just release, it's rebirth. Every time you let go of what's heavy, you rise closer to your truest self. It's not always easy. Letting go might mean grieving. It might mean being alone. It might mean facing a silence you've avoided for years. But in that space is clarity. In that silence is peace. And in that stillness is you. The real you. The one who doesn't need everything to go right to feel okay. The one who can breathe through change and still feel whole. The one who has learned how to rest, not because life is perfect, but because you've stopped resisting what is. A gentle practice. Here's something to try today. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Picture something you've been holding tightly, a thought, a memory, a should. Now, imagine gently placing it in your hands. Feel its weight. Acknowledge it. Thank it for what it gave you. And when you're ready, imagine opening your hands. Let it drift. Let it go. Breathe again. You are not the pain. You are not the past. You are the one who chooses peace, again and again and again. Let this be your turning point. You don't have to change your whole life today. You don't have to figure everything out. You just have to soften. To trust. To let go of one small thing, and feel the weight begin to lift. And maybe, just maybe, that's where your healing begins. Part 5. Coming home to yourself. So many of us spend our lives searching for meaning, for belonging, for someone or something to finally make us feel whole. We chase success, love, validation. We read books, watch videos, join programs, and ask spiritual teachers. Tell me who I am. Tell me how to be happy. But the most profound truth is this. Everything you've been searching for has always been inside you. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are simply disconnected from your own presence. The greatest journey is inward. In Buddhist philosophy, the path to enlightenment is not about adding more to yourself, it's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. All the layers you've carried. The fear of being alone. The shame of not being enough. The guilt of past choices. The need to perform, to impress, to prove. These are not who you are. They are the clothes you've worn to survive. But now, you can take them off. You can come home to the quiet truth underneath it all. Being with yourself is not selfish, it's sacred. Some people fear spending time alone because it feels selfish. But here's what no one tells you. You can't truly love others if you don't know how to sit with yourself. If you're always running from your own silence, you'll never fully listen to someone else. If you don't understand your own needs, you'll expect others to guess them. If you haven't forgiven yourself, you'll keep projecting that pain onto those you love. Being with yourself is not withdrawal. It's training. It's how you return to relationships, to the world, with presence and clarity, instead of confusion and longing. From loneliness to sacred solitude. Let's shift the meaning of being alone. Loneliness says, I am not enough. I need someone to fill this emptiness. Solitude says, I am whole. And in this stillness, I connect to something deeper. When you make peace with your solitude, you no longer fear the quiet. You begin to cherish it. You'll notice how birds sing more clearly in the early hours. How your breath slows when no one is rushing you. How your thoughts soften when you simply let them be. You'll start to feel the beauty in your own company. And slowly, you'll stop craving distractions that once felt necessary just to survive. You are not alone, you are with yourself. There's a kind of love that isn't loud. It doesn't come from another person. It comes from a quiet moment when you realize, I like who I am when I'm not performing. I trust myself to sit in stillness. I am enough, right here, as I am. This is the return to yourself. The place where you don't need approval to feel valuable. Where you don't need to be on all the time. Where your worth isn't tied to how productive or perfect you are. It's the part of you that remembers, you are life itself. From within, everything changes. And something incredible happens when you begin living from this space. The world doesn't feel as heavy. You stop being pulled by every opinion. You stop fearing rejection. You start moving with quiet confidence. You start listening more deeply, because you've learned to listen to yourself. You speak more truthfully, because you've stopped hiding. You forgive more easily, because you've made peace with your own humanness. This isn't magic. It's mindfulness. It's choosing to meet yourself every day with compassion, even when it's hard, even when you fall short. Because every time you return to yourself, you create a ripple that touches everything and everyone around you. This is the gift of being alone. So now you see, being alone isn't something to fear. It's not a punishment. It's not a flaw in your story. It's an invitation to meet the most important person in your life, you. To sit in your own company and not just tolerate it, but cherish it. To finally realize that the quiet you once avoided is the place where your strength lives. Where your clarity awakens. Where your soul breathes freely. That is the hidden gift of being alone. Conclusion. The home you've been looking for. So here you are. After all the running, all the noise, all the moments of searching. You're finally still. And maybe now, you see it. You were never truly alone. You were always with yourself. You just forgot how to listen. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to chase another version of you. You simply need to remember who you already are. A soul capable of deep peace. A heart capable of love, not just for others, but for you. A presence powerful enough to sit in silence, and feel whole. One breath, one step. If this video gave you even a moment of stillness. A breath that felt a little deeper. A thought that softened. A memory you forgave. Let that be enough for today. You don't need to change your whole life right now. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to come home. Again and again. One quiet moment at a time. And when you forget, come back to the breath. That's all. That's everything. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs gentle peace today. And subscribe to Life Lessons, where we share more stories that help you return to yourself. Remember, the world may be loud, but your peace begins in the quiet. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not alone. You are home. And we're so glad you're here.